All right. Welcome.
Welcome.
That this is the second to the last broadcast from the United States. We will be doing one in 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
No, Saturday.
Excuse me, Saturday morning. And that'll be our global broadcast. So how this one got snuck in, I don't know, but it did. So
Tom and I probably had this great idea, and then, I forgot.
Yeah. I think it's great.
We do this stuff. It will be great. So do you want to let Satyapriya talk a little bit about what we're planning to do for the winter? Or is this too soon?
I think it's too soon.
All right. Look forward to something coming on a winter program.
Well, what do you think?
In Washoe Valley.
You want to talk about what the plan is for Washoe Valley for the winter? Yes, we do have a plan. We have a plan.
Look at that. Yeah. Satyapriya is going to come up. And it's okay not to have all the answers, Satyapriya. Just, yeah, I know. You're getting very, very close, though. And this is Thursday night. It is community night.
It's like, Satri, what do you think? I'm like, thinking? What's thinking?
Yeah.
Thinking.
Oh, yes, that.
Yeah, man.
You need to hang on to that part of yourself. You're now responsible for the Washoe Valley Center. So you have to evoke the mind. Should you all have such a problem. But it is... and she has now taken on the responsibility of holding the space for the winter program. And Satyapriya and I have been talking about some of the general principles. She just submitted to me a schedule, which I haven't had a chance to look at, but I will soon. And we're looking to provide an opportunity for people who can't go to India but would like to commit some portion of the next 3 months to progress in their own spiritual journey. And although there is not a formal program, but there is a structure of support where you can come and live in the community for a period of time and engage yourself into deepening in away from home, away from the circumstances of your life, which I think is 75% of the advantage of coming here is to get away from yourself and get away from the debris of your life, right? And
okay,
and you'll be around people that they have succeeded in doing that.
So do you want to let Satyapriya talk about it?
I'm sure I will in a minute.
Just keep going.
I know. I knew you were going to say that. All right.
But I want to hand it over, but I wanted to give her some time to get camera ready. Right? All right. So Satyapriya has been with us now for what, 4 years, 3 years?
It's coming to
3 years now. Yeah. And so I'm thrusting her. Call it kick in the butt, thrusting her into the next stage of coming to personal responsibility and holding space. And that, of course, is the main focus of those come to stay, is the opportunity to have a kick where you get transitioned into a place you probably wouldn't want to transition into. So
Tom says that all the time.
Yeah, he recognizes it. So anyway, Satyapriya, this is your moment. Go ahead.
Well, it's not that you have much of an option. If you're committed to this work, you're going to be pushed against your boundaries. That's the sure thing. So, me or anybody that is here, be ready. Anyway, but speaking about the winter program, what I can share and waiting for Satri's approval and blessing on our programs, that it's going to be intensive. It's going to be intense, and because we now have the crowdcasts available, we're going to be linking like very often with the energy in India and Satri's teaching there. So that's a pretty big core of our program. And in between, we are going to be, have hopefully a right blend about the silent sittings and meditation, but also engaging in a kind of inquiry, which we're hoping to bring more of what Satri has been speaking, quite often lately about Mariana Kaplan work, and how we can bring this inquiry into our living, circumstances here, and to just help us shed whatever is still in the way. So it is going to be rich, it's going to be intensive, and I don't know, I just feel very positive with the few of us that are staying here. And, I mean, this is the base. Sorry, I'm going to speak down.
Go for it.
Well, this is the base, guys.
Yes.
No matter where Satri goes and who he takes, he always come back here. So, we need to hold that as energetically how important it is for us to keep this going, to keep not just as a community, but personally, So I feel that and it's not just me holding this space. I think we all do this together. So I cannot do just by myself. So I think each one of us, and Vasudeva is going to be here, and Adi is going to be joining us more often than not, hopefully. So, and also for the people that live out of town, we're going to be offering a very, very good rate, daily rate. So the flyer is going to be going out maybe next week or so. So we really hope you take advantage of, the energy that's here and the commitment that we all have and sincerity on really furthering ourselves in this path.
That's good. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
That's your elevator speech. That's quite good. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Satchipriya.
Thanks, Satchipriya.
So it's all an opportunity, and it's the nature of this work to keep holding that open for people to come and join into that opportunity. And it is, as every part of my work is a opportunity to shift the paradigm that you hold your life in. So the spiritual work is always contextual, not content. It is the framing of our perception and our experience that allows for something that actually is already there to reveal itself. So in this way, it has a rigor. The rigor is in the attitudinal orientation that we hold to allow that to be conscious as a lived part of our life. And that's why it's often useful to come and do an intentional program, or to come to some place like Washoe Valley or even India, where you step out and leap physically by relocating yourself into a different set of circumstances over which you do not have your usual control, where you cannot expect things to come a certain way. You may want to expect things, but you won't be able to know, because that's the nature. You're looking to discover and experience that which you do not yet know. What would be the use of this work without that? Otherwise, it's just like everyone else. They'll just give you a new version of what you already know, and you'll be happy with that until it gets old. Then you'll look for another new version of what you already know. Change your clothes, change your house, change your relationship. Try that on for a while. But it's just as much you change, the more it stays the same. So there's a fundamental principle of the spiritual path that's not recognized in psychology, nor is it spoken of much in the general conversation, which is the fundamental shift that occurs in the core of that quality of being, of reality that you are, that breaks the hold of the old and allows you to enter into what has not yet been able to be known or experienced. Are we not looking for that? Are we not looking to see what it is we can't see, to experience it is what we can't experience? Don't we all know that we're in a condition where life is constantly pushing us back into this ordinariness of being and habitual patterns of reacting and hoping and projecting and thinking, desiring and resisting and denying? So unlike the rest of the world that is striving continuously to keep things just like they are, in an endless battle for preserving the status quo, this is an opportunity for you to break that status quo. That's the purpose of the work. Now, how does this happen? It can only happen when you have touched or have access to a central principle of what it is we are in existence. Not as a passive structure, although it has a passive quality. We find it in our deep meditations. We find it when we're in a profound, tranquil spaciousness. We find we're in the vicinity of that principle, but there is a dynamic aspect of this. And this dynamic principle is this Sat force, this Sat principle that can bring in something that's beyond existence into existence to create a new possibility, to inject something that is actually outside of existence into existence, and then create something in the midst of existence that's totally original, totally new, and totally the foundation of the truth of which everything emerges from. Accessing that, having access to that, to be able to feel it or sense it within yourself. We can speak of the soul as one of the labels, the innermost truth, our own self-existent reality. But this principle is the seat of our identity. It's the seat of our ability to be a person. It's the seat of what makes the world real for us. It's the reality creator. It's the one that can assign value to one thing over another thing, to make one thing more important than another thing. It's the one that makes the more important thing more real than the less important thing. So in this way, it's a reality creator. It can bring into existence something of a reality than something else. And it's not that we know we're doing this, but we're doing it continuously as human beings, continuously creating, this is more important and this is less important. This is what I want, this is what I don't want, or this is what I don't care about. So it's going to be in those categories where we're actually organizing our lives unconsciously, habitually, mostly by programming, creating things to be real, idea or a thought or an opinion that rises up suddenly. We bring it into existence and then we make it real. We defend it. We argue for it. We take actions on it. We explain it. We justify it. We strategize around it. It all comes from this very same core principle, but it's unbound. It's not directive. It's not purposeful. It doesn't know how to bring this incredible capacity to know you exist and to bring existence into existence for yourself that we all carry. That's the core of what we are. And to find that in ourselves is the most profound fulfillment there is. And it's from that place that you can recognize that this is the reality. It is on this reality that this reality, this other alternative reality exists. This projected world exists. Without that, and if we can find that, we can then begin to choose to direct our attention aligned with the next opportunity for us to come into existence more fully, more truly, more in connection, more in relationship with the opportunity that existence is. That's what the Gita teaches. I'm listening to you reading the book on the new book on the Gita Revealed. It's clear that it's said again and again in that teaching. I'm at a place now where I have said everything that needs to be said at least 30 times. And it's recorded and it's written and it's posted on the website. Something else needs to happen if you're not getting it or you're not being able to see it because your attention is elsewhere. What you're empowering is elsewhere. When your attention awakens within you, you can read the phone directory and you will see it's just total truth. Because you're the creator of truth. You're the one that brings it into existence, but it has to come from that place, not those other compensating structures of our individuality that's been the byproduct of our human embodiment. So I wanted to be clear about that because we're bringing forward the spiritual technology that Mariana Chaplin brings. And it's been out there before. I mean, I remember reading Jung when I was 17, Carl Jung when I was 17. I was interested in these things in my teens, in my early 20s. These were very important for that stage of life. So it's out there in the culture. It's a great body of knowledge. And I realize that many people come to me have not tapped into that. Well, for me, it's kind of like the ground of how I've always inquired about myself as I came into existence when I started discovering these technologies. But there is this other principle that I discovered with my awakening, this other fundamental, powerful truth that goes beyond our individual humanness or our own individual capacity to be better humans or more accomplished or more fulfilled or more loved or more connected, whatever we would value or give power to and make real, which is mostly everything outside of that one real thing that we are. So we give up a piece of the reality for everything we make more real than us outside. It's useful to understand the nature of who you are from the perspective of what you are. In that context, where you have a place to stand outside of the content of you, you can see the content. You're then the context in which you arise. So you're able to witness and observe. Oh, look at me. I'm so plugged in. Look at me. I'm so confused. Look at me. I am so need to be right. And here I am catching myself in the act of being my who. And that's when we actually have the ability to begin to take the who in us and then empower it with the what we are. Because it carries a reality. Our human embodiment is relatively real. Our personality, our struggles, our ideas, our beliefs, the differences between me and you and my opinions and all that carry something of that reality, even if it's twisted, distorted, personalized, egocentric, self-centered, whatever you might say. It is this a fundamental quality of us that if we can see it, if we can catch ourselves, we can discover a greater truth within a content of our personality, a greater truth in the story of us, a greater truth in the emotional patterns that are still running us than we've been able to before. Because there is a place for it all in truth. Bringing the who up to the what is the opportunity of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the opportunity of true spiritual work. But if you just find the what, if you just awaken, if you just come into that fulfilling quality of being that needs nothing other than itself, then you lose the opportunity to embody it. You lose the opportunity to make it lived and real. both domains have validity. The first domain we have to break out of, the domain of the who we are, the story of us, the emotion, in order to know that that is a truth. That's not just trying to, from the human being, from the being who has lost himself in the human vehicle. That's not possible. It'll only be possible within the limited confines of human life. A better relationship, a better job, more security inwardly would be this better relationship with yourself, your greater ability to be in existence without as much suffering, to stop the things that don't support you in being in existence. All of these serve human beings, so they also allow for a better world. And we're living in a better world because human beings have struggled to bring forward a better version of human in the course of the sacrifices and the effort of a striving that has its real purpose arising from the original purpose of existence, which is to bring a greater truth, a greater love, a greater fullness than what has existed before. More security, more understanding, more freedom, more opportunity, more possibility than what was previous for most of humanity for thousands of years. To be able to step out of the boundaries of the structures that collective mankind have built up, and then be able to, at least individually, discover for ourselves that which is without boundaries, outside of the box of right or wrong or good or acceptable and all of this, that we can discover a quality of being that can serve and contribute, but not from within the box that human beings are bound by. So we're at a place now where the tools that humanity has available to, both through the wisdom and the spiritual power and truth of the East, with the technology, the life development, the structures of the West, as well as the psychology and the technology of psychology. So we have a capacity to be able to create a new relationship with existence, not only for ourselves, but for the world. And it's inevitably true that when something truer comes into existence, it is like an idea whose time has come. It just explodes out into the collective consciousness. Just look at yoga, hatha yoga, or meditation. It was just in the nooks and crannies of the media or the normalcy of things, and now it's everywhere. Why? Because it's a truer thing. It's something teaching human beings how to be in existence in a more true way than what was available before. Even if they're doing the same things their parents did, they can come forward with another attitudinal orientation, another relationship with existence that is based on values and importance that is truer than what is available before, which would be personal survival, or taking care of your family, or making sure you're safe, or making sure your family's safe, all the other things. But I don't want to dismiss that. But it seems that the most rare thing is this shift that can occur when that principle of the Sat can be experienced within each of ourselves. It's too rare. And without that, all the psychology in the world won't take you into the full possibility of what it means to be in existence. It'll take you to an improved human relationship with existence. And of course, the being will be there because there's human being, right? There was, in fact, the being human, but it's the human being. So we have this being quality. So even a happy human carries something of the principle of truth within it. So it can enjoy its children. It can enjoy the moments of life. It can endure the difficulties and the challenges of relationships and of work and of society and the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that we all inevitably encounter. What allows a human to meet these and to grow and learn from them especially is how much the being component of the human's been developed. But on the spiritual path, it's of a different order. We pop out of that first condition of being into this pure being without definition from the human. Even if it's in the moment or in the meditation or in the yoga of your practice of your life, of your consciousness living, the being in you becomes first and the human comes second. And therefore, what happens is the values that come from the being will be different than the values and the importances that come from the human. It'll be less important for the being to have it its way. It'll be more interested and curious about other ways of being, other ways of doing, other ways of being a human than it's known before. It'll come out of any contracted structure that would really run it up until that point. So there's more freedom, more choice than was before. So it serves both. The more we become the being, actually, the more perfectly we become human. Not in the way that we were contracted or conditioned to be, but in the opportunity of being a body and a personality in existence. And through that being, should it be able to stand on its own in that quality of beingness, which will have a passive and an active dynamic expression. It'll have a passive structure, which we meet it in meditation. We meet it when there's been a sudden collapse inward, and we find that inner reality, and we wake up to that principle that wakes us up. It's like we wake up into existence. When that happens, the being in that moment gets enough distance from its human entanglement that this supreme principle can come in and enter. It can happen simultaneously. You can have a realization of the being, a recognition of the being, and in the moment of the recognition, it opens up to an even greater force that comes in simultaneously and opens the whole system to a quality of being we could call being supreme, being the divine, being God, and that where the little identity that's been so locked up into the habitual pattern of our smallness is suddenly vast, boundless, full of power, clarity, presence, possibility. All you have to do is have a few of those experiences through your awareness or through your experience. And your being changes and your human changes. A small interjection of this universal principle that draws from that supreme principle, which is the source of all our being. We open a new possibility for being a human, a new possibility for all humans. Perhaps an idea whose time has come. Maharishi Yogi, he's the one who promoted meditation. He did all the studies that scientifically showed that when 60 or 600 people meditated around the city, vibration of the city lifted up, crime became less. It was more prosperous. They had all these statistics that would show the power of meditation in this dimension. It's an extraordinary power, not only for you personally, but for the world around you. It's time. I've come, and those who are coming now, not all are holding that paradigm, but it's our time to begin to show this capacity, demonstrate it, and in empower people to discovering that within themselves for the purpose not only for themselves, but for the world. And that's the Gita. That's the mother book. That's what Sri Aurobindo was struggling to bring in, the recognition of a new paradigm for being, a force that he could recognize that couldn't come to the earth, but which awakened me, allowed an awakening to happen that was completely without any effort. And that when it occurred, it was simply a matter of riding the current that came with that awakening over the years until it manifested in this form. That there's something already trying to happen. I was sure I'd been to those point. Something that's trying to embody, trying to become part of the paradigm of human existence. So we need to continue to speak in the correct set of values, because though psychology can be extremely helpful, it is simply an adjunct to this awakening process of the capacity we all carry. And it will not do the awakening. It will help in the awakening in some cases, and it will certainly help in your ability to bring it into your life and into your relationships and into the world. But no more than that. We need to be clear. A lot of people on the spiritual path come to a quality of an awakening in the awareness, where they meet the Brahman, where they meet the infinity. But it in itself is a passive quality. It isn't focused on the world. It doesn't seek to bring world change. That's not its principle. It's the all-pervading field of beingness of which we're one expression of. It has that validity, the validity of being a being in the ocean of beingness. Not just being a being in the ocean of becoming. That's what our human does. But an ocean of beingness itself. In itself, it has no purpose. It can only find its purpose within each of our own capacity to create purpose. To know you're the infinite being, the Vashadeva, is not enough if you're seeking to shift the existing paradigm of mankind, which is the work I do. It's work what I'm called to. It's the work that's designed with my nature. And it's the work that's come out of the recognition of what awakened me initially. The farmer that is tending the crops of humanity showed itself. And it was very clear to me that there's something trying to happen. And that's my work with all of you, is to help you get in touch with what is already trying to happen and not get lost in the human contamination and perspective that keeps you from seeing what extraordinary possibility you carry, each of you. An extraordinary possibility for coming into existence. So each person here in Washoe Valley, this is part of the work, is to wake you up to that possibility, and then you taking responsibility to bring it into existence through yourself, through the people you work with in the community, with the small groups, by engaging yourself authentically to keep hammering and cutting away the qualities of your embodiment that still limit and obscure your ability to know this more fully. So it's calling us up to a greater standard than we could know, nor could we want that for ourselves. Wanting something, desiring something, having ambition to get it for ourselves isn't going to work, because that comes from the human. It's really a shift in the way we hold ourselves and the world that can do it. It's not about going anywhere but where we are. to really enter into that condition that we are currently in any one moment where we can wake up to the opportunity of doing so. You know, I really had hoped this could be done just on the subtle plane. I really had visions like, sure, I've been to the plane and taking that, influencing this person over there. It doesn't work. Too much of a veil, especially in the West, too much of a veil between our human consciousness and the subtle plane. It can't be done. You have to have a body. You have to have a person who can talk. You got to have somebody who can be pushy. You got to have somebody who's got the energy and the clarity, that this body is strong enough that it can survive the pressure of the forces and can bring it into existence so other people can access it as a direct demonstration. Well, if he can do it, maybe I can do it. You know, if I've got one person who is the demonstration of what they're talking about, well, then maybe that is a truth that I could discover for myself. That's what the universe is requiring. I would retire if I could. Like Jesus Christ, where God said, I want you crucified on the cross. And Jesus says, well, okay, whatever you say, but I'd rather be playing golf. So it is this, it is the work before each of us. And it isn't difficult any more than life is difficult. It's no harder to do this than to just be an ordinary human being. You're just more conscious. You're just more in touch with what could be and then what is possible. So there is more of that, being more awake to the nature of the resistance and the recognition that it's very likely it won't be able to happen. You know, the part that still can't believe this could be communicated to others. And it is right from the very beginning. Whatever has come into me is communicable. It just comes through like a broadcast. And it isn't something I do. It's like part of the design. It's when I first came up after the initial awakening and I walked into the room where Satsang was sleeping up there in the chipmunk house. She sat straight up in bed. Tears were pouring down her face, and she says, what's happening? What's happening? Because she was partaking in the state that was occurring for me in that moment. We're not all wired up that way, but I am. And I am looking for others who are. Because they probably may not have the clarity of what it is they're capable of. They may not understand what's happened because these things come, but the habit of human shrouds us. And if you can't organize yourself to come out of the habit of the human, you'll keep not recognizing what it is that's happened to you. And therefore not know to take actions, not know to value it more than the old things that you have habitually made important. I know that, in fact, each one of you are the Supreme Being, is the being in which the Supreme comes through. But the work is for you to know that. That's the work. And that's the work you have to do. When all else falls away, that's all that's left. You know, when the world gets destroyed and there's no more reincarnation, you know, on this planet anyway, what's going to be left is this principle. It's the only thing that's truly secure, that's truly stable, that cannot be lost. It cannot be burnt or cut. So there's nothing more important. You actually, at some level, have been striving for this and every other thing you've made important, not knowing that it was yourself that's the most important thing, that principle within yourself. That's the most important thing. It's really hard to hear this, and it's even harder to believe this. But if you did, if you had faith, if you just could be simple enough and say, okay, he says I'm a supreme being. Well, okay, what does that look like? Talk to his wife, talk to his kids, say, okay, so I could be the supreme being. What do you think? I'm in an inquiry to discover I could be the supreme being. What would that look like? How would I bring that into existence if that was true? And how would I know? What would be the measures? What would be the evidence? Well, part of the evidence is the human in you would relax. You would just start relaxing. Because the human is so stressed out just to exist that one of the first evidence that you're the supreme being is relaxation. Because you can't die. You can't lose. There's nothing more to gain. You got the thing that everybody's looking for. Why bother striving to get something, a new car, a new job, more money? Why bother? I got everything that would bring. The feeling of having more money, the feeling of having a new car is already here. What do I need a car for? What do I need money for? What do I need security for? It's already here. The fulfillment's already here. So therefore, it's human. Yes, you can enjoy a new car, but I'm not at all confused. That has anything to do with reality. That one reality I am. So that's another symptom, is the falling away of the old values, the old structures that defined you, and what was important and what wasn't important, what was real and what wasn't real, including human love, including all the other things human beings do in the hope or desire that getting it will bring that quality of fulfillment. That's already there, in fact. You know, you could do that in meditation. Just sit in a meditation. Just think of something you really wanted. I know a lot of people around me, this doesn't work anymore, but something you really wanted. And just say, okay, just imagine you have it. It's in your garage or it's in your bed. And what would that feel like? Okay, feel that. Well, son of a bitch, you already got it. Anytime I can go out to the garage and caress my shiny new car or start the motor up, go rum rum, or go someplace. But wherever going someplace would give for you, just imagine what it would feel like to go to that place and then feel that and say, oh, I'm already there. Find that place. Finding that within yourself, diminish the exaggerated importance that we give to those things. And it comes naturally as a measure of you having faith that in the absolute truth is this principle of the supreme being. Being supreme is a lot of work. Coming into existence as the supreme is the work. But the evidence that it's come is just as I'm describing. There's a relaxation. There's a falling away of the old structures associated with desire. Therefore, falling away of the structures that are associated with loss. Falling away of the structures that are associated with frustration. Falling away of the structures associated with fear. These are all symptomatic as we become more and more grounded, where we give more and more our value to that quality that's already here within us. And the other quality that comes spontaneously without any effort is a compassion for human existence, a compassion for people who are in suffering, either of their own creation or created by their circumstances. And there's this feeling of connection with every other living principle in existence, which may be quite quiet. It may be very serene. When it first comes, it isn't usually. When it first comes, this sense of being connected to everything is an extraordinary event. But after it keeps coming and coming, it becomes a serene recognition that allows you to be totally incorporated in your physical existence, your emotional existence, your mental existence, at the same time, not confused at all about your true nature, not distorted at all. So these are some of the things that would be evidence that you would find in your own experience. So that I offer those as a possibility so that you'll be curious about this conversation. You'll be curious about everything that the Gita is pointing to and all these thousands of talks that I have given and recordings. God knows how many there are. Probably thousands. So that you won't need to watch another video. You won't need to sit in another Gita study group, but you would enjoy it, but you wouldn't need it. Because anything with truth brings you enjoyment. Anything that has truth. And it doesn't have to be the full truth. As a matter of fact, the full truth, there's nobody there to get it anymore. So you want the lesser truths so you can enjoy them. Yeah, to be sugar is not as fun as tasting sugar. So you want to be in existence enough to enjoy what it means to be in existence. I had to work at this. I had to work at coming back into existence. And of course, it was work because there was resistance in my human to come back into that limitation, to come back into those hidden parts of myself, to come back into that old kind of suffocating quality of being as a human being. And that process of manifestation, of re-entry, of coming back in, was where I discovered all these principles of embodiment, all these principles that anything that is arising that's in resistance or dark or giving pain is carrying within it a jewel that can be found by just being with it, just staying with it in that quality of beingness that you are. And then the jewel releases. And you no longer have whatever that resistance is. It releases and you become less resistant in that portion of yourself. Less fearful, less controlling, less needing. Okay. We have any time for people to come forward? Yes, we do. Anybody would like to come and... I know I just probably blew the energy out of anybody's motivation. So maybe there's someone on the crowdcast who is far enough away that they can have a question. But if any of you do, and you'd like to bring something forward, I invite you to do so. Ah, okay. Erica, come forward. Yeah. Hard to control the valve once it gets going.
Finished.
Recorded.
It's finished.
She's finished.
Finished. And I found myself in this no man's land now.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
No woman's land.
No woman's land.
Yes.
Woman. Yeah. Just compared to what I was facing every day, 15, 16 hours a day of work for 6 days a week. And all of a sudden, nothing at all. Yes, so I can't escape it, can I? So, you know, if it was a different time and a different place, this would have been a very difficult thing for me to deal with. I would have gone straight
back into something,
into
anything.
Anything.
Yeah, a fight, a drama, a divorce, you know, car wreck, whatever. Any this vast openness for that which I do not know yet.
Yeah.
Know what you step out from, the ordeal you've been in, but not having what it is becoming or being able to recognize it. And the habit of the human is to fill space. It can't tolerate spaciousness. The human being is not designed to just hold space being. It always wants to do or have. So yeah, there's the challenge.
Yeah. So this is what I have to encounter for the next week and a half or so. And that's just what it is. You know, that's exactly what it is. There's nothing I can do.
How are you doing with that?
I'm disappearing in it sometimes. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, but they're dealing with somatic
trauma.
therapies.
Yeah.
So it's really, and what I was left with once I left the post office was really getting to what I felt to be the core of the issue,
Good.
which is the structure of shame at the base of my, just the structure of shame, which is in me, which is in the entire postal system, by the way.
Which is in all of humanity.
It's in all of
Everyone.
humanity,
Yeah.
and I carry that piece,
Right.
and I have experienced that.
It's hard not to take it personally. That's the problem with shame. It's almost the most challenging thing not to take personally. You can understand it's not personal, but when you're in shame, fuck that, man. I am collapsed. There's no way. I don't deserve to exist. It overtakes you right down there at that fundamental position where you first discovered what shame was, where you first were diminished, where you first were rejected or felt rejected or abandoned, wherever it originated from. This is the original sin. It what locks us into a body and locks us into a personality and keeps us in a condition of suffering.
Yeah. What was really beautiful too is that I had written to you during this period. I had finished the debt obligation at the end of November, and I wrote to you, and there were some other symptoms that I was experiencing, which I felt indicated that it might be time to go. And you said, you know what, just stick it out. Just stick it out
That little bit more.
a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I surrendered to that. And that's really when just this slew of insights came. And, including this shame, and all the, and I can't say all the adaptions, but a fair amount of adaptions. I could see everything fairly clearly. But what was the last thing that I got, which was very interesting to me, was the possibility of returning into that environment. I was quite surprised by that.
That you could come back.
That I could come back, but in the capacity of healing, of being in that environment, not for myself at all, but to be there, to hold the space.
Exactly.
For that condition, that
To be in the midst
profound-
of it and hold the space. So life becomes an opportunity.
Exactly.
It doesn't become just a burden to be endured to pay off your debt.
Exactly.
And that, that's a very powerful insight, because the truth is you don't need to change anything if you can change your attitude, if you can change the way you hold something, if you can change your perspective. Your life would be where it is right now, would be exactly what's needed for you to discover your supreme nature. It's that discovery of that, of course, usually only comes after ordeals. The nature of is it brings us, it's like a funnel where we first, sometimes we're happy, sometimes it's necessity. We go into it and then we get contracted by the requirements of the ordeal. And when the ordeal ends, then we pop out of it. And in that moment of popping out of it, we have a glimpse or a reflection of what a shift in consciousness would be. And be able to take that transition as an opportunity is to hold the space for it rather than to fill it up. And what you did, Erica, by bringing up the situation you were just now so ready to get out of as the opportunity for that space.
But I would have been willing to stay longer if it seemed to be necessary. I should say that.
That's right. And that whole shifts the whole paradigm.
Right.
It's like I went snow camping for for 5 days. I had enough food for 5 days and ended up going 10 days. So by going the extra 5 days, I came to a complete different place with snow camping. So it's like it became something other than something that has a start and an end, and I could look forward to the end. It became something without an end.
Yes.
So the nature of being able to hold something is to hold it as if it was never going to end, is how we complete anything.
Yeah. And I feel as if, you know, every job that I've ever had these same components to it.
Good.
You know, so, and I do feel a completion, you know, and I feel the acceptance of it, you know, and like I said, the willingness to return if that is to be my way,
Yes.
you know.
But don't give too much attention to that, because
Exactly.
what you want to
Yeah.
be in touch with is you were the beginning, you were the middle, and you were the end. That the end is already here. It would be here in the middle, it would be here at the beginning, and at the beginning can be here in the middle, and the beginning can be here at the end, and the middle can be here at the beginning, and the middle can be here at the end. Because we're all that. It is this attitudinal capacity to be in existence outside of the paradigm of what we human beings do with dividing existence up into beginnings and ends and middles.
Right.
Because that is the supreme itself in you. So right there,
Yes.
it's not an alien thing. It's what you are. You are now, now she's listening to me too closely. What I am speaking of tonight, you already are. In a situation where 2 years ago, was it, when you took this job?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, a little bit more. Say 2 years. That's fine.
Was an opportunity for her to complete something I could see in her karmic world that needed to be resolved, for her to be able to come work with me at the next level. And that's all she did. And she could only come and participate now and then because she's working her ass off at the post office. And there was no doubt about it that everything in her that didn't want to be there came up. And she had to learn to be with it every single day. So every single day was a beginning and a middle and an end. And it could seem endless at some point because you're just barely paying down the debt at first. So it's like, what in us allows us to stay with something? In that kind of context, it has to be something that's other than what we would be otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was part of the question to you as well, because at a certain point, I felt as if something had dropped away.
Yeah.
And I was completely, now it's my choice almost.
That's the right word. Now it's my choice. Where I put the importance. What I give value to, or where I withdraw my value from. That's what it means to be being supreme. It's an unfolding of the opportunity of that principle that the supreme may mean. Let's not get too locked into it being superior or inferior, just quality of truth, a supreme truth. A supreme quality of existence that we are. And these are one of the demonstrations of it, is that you don't need to go get it. It's already here. That every opportunity that comes up is learning how to be with something that previously you couldn't be with without defining its beginning and its end. So it's choice. And it's freedom to choose what's arising rather than to choose something new. Choose to be in touch with the flow of the purpose of your life into that moment. Erica knows what the purpose of her life is, to make this more real. And so India is the way, it's the next thing. It's the flow. It was always there anyway, even from her human strategy. So she stepped into that. But for others, it's showing up to work the next day, or getting your degree, or getting your professional training or being able to step into a truer, a more authentic relationship with existence by decisions and choices you're making right at this moment. I know there are people making choices right at this moment, moving into different locations, giving up their houses, committing themselves to leave their jobs so they could be in India. They're choosing to bring something into existence that is aligned with the purpose of their existence.
And this is what I was born to do.
And that's what we're all born to do.
Yes.
Beautiful demonstration.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, to what you're going to make me do over there next.
Well, that'll
So
be entertaining, but it'll be no different than what you are right
yeah,
now.
I got that.
I give you
I'm just-
entertainment. That's what I'll provide you. I'll give you something to worry or struggle or get confused about. I'll give you something to keep you engaged while the boat is taking you there.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
deck games,
Right.
right? Shuffleboard, whatever it is, fishing. It's just whatever. But there is a momentum when you
Mhm.
align with someone like myself. You're going to be dragged along,
Yeah.
and you just need to distract yourself enough so you stay on the boat, right? Something else is doing it for you. Learning how to be willing to allow that to happen is part of the unfolding. And the only thing that will happen, of course, is that the human in us gets to be included. So that can be fun,
Yeah.
or interesting, or exciting.
Finally.
The human loves to be excited. The human likes something new. The human wants to be challenged. It wants to sense there's something it's coming up against so that it can go beyond it. So there's this inherent possibility in us too to come into existence more fully. So nothing gets left out in the opportunity of this journey. We have to wake up and realize how this moment in our life is that opportunity, instead of imagining we're in the middle or wishing we were at the end or any place else than where we are. Where we want something that we now don't have, or would rather get rid of something we already have. You could say that's the human ego. Getting rid of stuff that doesn't want and getting things it doesn't think it has. So when all that falls away, then you're in this thing that doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's just this middle. And how to be in the middle forever. All right, Erica, thank you.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anybody else in the room, or Tom, is there anybody who has any questions?
No one's come forward.
Yeah, damn it. Just too much velocity, but maybe that's enough. We're going to be doing this again tomorrow.
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'm supposed to have a birthday. I'm telling everybody, look, it inevitably happens. You just have to hang out long enough and you'll be 72 if you're not already 70. You just hang out long enough and life just keeps happening and you get older in the process. And there are new sets of challenges of being embodied at 70 versus the ones at 60 or 40 or 30. I wouldn't want the ones at 30 anymore. I'm glad I'm 70.
That's funny.
That means the end is near. Now I got to get over that one. It's closer than it is far away. But there's enjoyment. And the nature of enjoyment is part of the delight of existing. So why turn it away? I know what it is that I am. I know its eternal quality. I am done. It's finished, long done. It is this endlessly free condition of being. No doubt about what is the truth that I am and what I am doing. There's just that. And it's been around for so long now that even my human takes it for granted. It's like, oh, okay, this is it. Every day is new. I got to look on a sheet of paper that tells me what the day is going to be. Oh, I'm going to be doing that. I really have no interest in the day after. So that's why I have a problem with command. Right now it's 24 hours. So I can think of Saturday only as 24 hours in the future.
No, it's 48.
Yeah, see, that's beyond my scope of knowing. So my immediacy can only kind of extend to a certain bit. But I had some interesting human things happen for me that I'd like to share, which was something that had to do with my father's birthday was the 18th. We're born 3 days apart. Of course, 24 or 6 years difference, but at this time of year, usually there's an exchange. Either I call him on his birthday or he calls me on my birthday, which I hear is tomorrow. But he's no longer here. And the thing is that I recognize that in my family, the family currently, my family of origin, there's this wonderful dysfunction going on. Just terrible, wonderful dysfunction. There's there's hate and manipulation and suspicion and distrust and it's just this great stuff. But left out honoring the death of my father, which was in September. And I was sitting there coming out of Samadhi, recognizing it was his birthday, and there was a sadness that the family is so dysfunctional that there wasn't the honoring of the father.
But it's happening next year.
Yeah,
So don't make it sound like it's not.
That's the soonest they could get it together.
Well, no, it's because we don't get back until.
But it's whatever be the physical circumstances. It was the recognition why human beings honor someone who's died. Why human beings honor someone who's born. Why human beings honor these points in time in the unfolding of each of us as human beings. It's like a ceremony. It is like a quality of organization of our consciousness that honors pieces of each of us individually and of existence. And that this helps organize mankind. The ceremonies and the rituals and the holidays and the celebrations are have given something a field by which they can come into existence with each other. So even though human beings don't know their supreme nature, there is the part of them that honors their existence and the existence of others and the transitions of life that we all share. The harvest, the festival, the Thanksgiving and the Christmas and the New Year, and in India, which has 160 celebrations every year. They're incredibly 50% inefficient because they have to show up for all these celebrations. So one thing India beats on us, they celebrate most of the time. And there is something to say in that celebration and that honoring. And if you look at it, I looked at it from that human in me, the sentimental person in me, and it was rich. It was rich. It was wonderful. You know, each of us are marked, noted. My mother played an old record that she got from Queen for a Day. This was a radio program after World War II, where people would share their stories of the war. At that time, it was the war, and of their lives. And she wrote a letter and shared about her husband had just come back from the war and was being trained as a teacher. And they were just having their third baby named Scott Barber, who was just born December 21st. So this recording was, she got the prize. And they sent her a refrigerator and a Christmas dinner and by airplane, and this record. So at 9 years old, she played that. And I was thinking, wow, look at that. When I was a kid, the whole world knew I was born. You know, it was announced nationally on national, and it was a big program. But it was there. We all are that someone needs to be there to honor our existence. And if we've been honored, then we can honor others' existence. But if we haven't been honored, then it's very hard to do that because we haven't been honored. And thereby we don't know how to honor our own existence. And that is the fundamental error of human conditioning, is how extraordinary rare it is for you to be you. I mean, really, that's the truth. Just get out of the human definition of that. But for you to be you in existence is the most extraordinary thing in creation. Because you can know you exist. And you can imagine you don't deserve to exist. It's a paradigm of human condition. That we're the rarest of rare of living beings is those that can know they exist and then suffer the limitation of being in a body, being bound by the rules and conditions of matter. That's why we bow to each other in this program. We bow in the recognition how special it is for you to be in this creation with me. That is the namaste, the naming of that. The most special of all specials, the supreme of all supremes, and the greatest truth of all truth. And that's what you are. And I happen to know Dad's still bouncing around. You know, Mom's still up there. They don't see much of each other. They completed whatever they had. There's nothing else to do. But this was the human in me being able to have that feeling of connection and honoring of who my father was in my life. And how this was true for my brothers and sisters, but at that moment, there was too much turbulence for them to be able to honor it in its full expression.
Apparently your brother Tom called your brothers and sisters, yes, in honor of your dad. It was on
good.
Facebook.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
But the principle is that is what is part of the role as a spiritual being, is this an honoring and the incorporating of what has worked to support human beings living together in the formation of the value of life, the opportunity of life, and therefore the value of themselves. And it's all love. And that's one of the fruits of being the supreme being in existence, is you can truly love without conditions, without requirements, without people to change, because the essential reality is eternal. It can't be anything but it is. And the proof of it is your own existence. So the delight of that creates that sense. Because, you know, I was a human being too. I am still a human being. I'm a human divine being, and so are you, but you just don't know it as well. Some of you may. And I would be very happy to know why you're listening to me. But maybe it's just to find one like yourself. I could understand that. It'd be a great conversation over Starbucks coffee, you know. So how's it for you? I'm sure we could figure out something to talk about. All right. She's containing me. All right. So we're going to wrap it up for tonight. We'll finish with a silent sitting. So thank you all for joining us. What do you know? I Perfect timing, 10 minutes. Let us begin.